Guanche mummies. Few people know that in Tenerife there used to be a practice of mummifying upper classes. So Guanche mummies are the intentionally desiccated remains of members of the indigenous Berber Guanche people of the Tenerife island, as part of Canary Islands. Guanche mummies were made prior to the arrival of the Spanish conquistadores and Spanish settlement of the area in the 15th century. And the way and methods the Guanches embalmed their mummies or bodies of the dead are similar to those that were used by the ancient Egyptians. But we have, unfortunately, fewer mummies remain from the Guanche period due to looting and desecration. You can go and read the story of looting of them, which were left in the caves, unfortunately. Mummification on the Canary Islands during the Guanche period remained restricted to Tenerife. So it remained restricted to Tenerife. In Gran Canaria, there is a debate on the true nature of the mummies in Gran Canaria, of the mummies of the ancient inhabitants of the islands in Gran Canaria, because many researchers stress and point out that there was no real intention to mummify the dead people or the deceased on Canary Islands, and that the good conservation of some of them is because of environmental factors. In La Palma, they were preserved by these environmental factors as well, and in La Gomera and El Hierro, the existence of mummification is not verified, and the researchers ruled out the existence of mummies in Lanzarote and Fuerteventura. So they didn't do that in Lanzarote and Fuerteventura. But in Tenerife, they did it. They certainly did it, as you can see it in the museum collection. So the best preserved or well-preserved mummies are found in Tenerife, or were found in Tenerife, and they're also very well studied. In 1933, the Guanche necropolis of Uchoa was found out and discovered in the municipality of San Miguel de Abona in southern Tenerife. The estimation today is that it contained between 60 and 74 mummies before the cemetery was completely looted. Physical examination of the Guanche mummies of Tenerife found that they were quite tall people, as you can see it is also in the description here. I will put the descriptions at the end of this video. So the males on average, the males were about 170 and females 157 in height, and they had robust constitution. The oldest mummified remains of the Canary Islands are from the 3rd century CE and were found on Tenerife. Medieval Spanish explorers and conquistadores who arrived in the Canary Islands during the 14th century reported the Guanche buried individuals of low social status in sandy graves. On the other hand, they mummified upper-class members and laid them to rest in secluded caves. One of these mortuary caves may have held up to 1,000 mummies back then. However, many of these have disappeared with only 20 complete mummies left on the islands. This is of course a huge loss, and the loss of such a large amount of mummies is generally attributed to the popularity of mumia, a pharmaceutical substance created out of pulverized mummies, unfortunately. The Guanche had groups of males and females working as mummification specialists who would carry out the process based on the gender of the deceased person. The Guanche culture considered these individuals unclean due to the nature of their work. At least it is assumed this way. Early explorers reported different traditions associated with Guanche mummification process, mirlado as it's called in Canary and Spanish. So, three different methods were identified in modern times through scientific analysis: evisceration, preservation, and stuffing. So they use this method in various different combinations depending on the era in which the mummy was created. In 1876, Dr. Don Gregorio Chil y Naranjo discovered that there were several incisions in some mummies, and his speculation was that they may have been used to remove the internal organs. In 1969, Don Broadwell's work confirmed that evisceration was a method used by the Guanche. Along with a team of other scholars and scientists, Broadwell conducted a pathological examination of a Guanche mummy. And this examination revealed that the body had been eviscerated. Then the abdominal and thoracic cavities had been packed with a mud-like substance that had or contained the bark of a pine tree. The Guanche mummies in Canary Islands and in the museum which you can see here, and I put it here, are really fascinating for scientific research and for anyone who is interested in the history of Canary Islands and original inhabitants of these magnificent islands. I would like to ask all of you to go to the museum to watch these mummies.